Hey everybody, this is Thunder. I'm going live here, live stream, talking about the Israel travesty. I'm working with a new computer here, so I hope it comes out. I don't know. Things are a little different, so we'll see what happens. Been watching this thing in Israel and just shaking my head about that because it's such a mess over there. When Trump granted the Israelis when he spoke up and said that he was going to put the embassy in Jerusalem, making that the capital or whatever. That's a travesty, and it's bringing bloodshed. Now, if you know anything about history or the history of Jerusalem or the history of the Jews, then you know that the whole thing is bogus in the first place, because a good person to go to on this is Jake Morphonios, and I watched some of his stuff regarding the history of the Jews in Jerusalem, or the Jews in Israel, the history of Israel. And it's a real eye-opener. A lot of the stuff I knew, some of the stuff I didn't know. It's a bogus state, really. I mean, it was formed by the Rothschilds through it. Looks like I'm getting a slight pause here in the stream, so I don't know how it's going to come out. But anyway, Israel was formed through the UN by the Rothschilds. The history of Israel, the history of the Jews in Israel, is quite interesting. They never really had a permanent. They weren't there permanently. They weren't there long. They were only there for about 200 years total. And the capital of, when it was formed, the capital of Jerusalem was Tel Aviv. Well, it wasn't Jerusalem. So that's why the big mess is happening now with the Israelis slaughtering Palestinian people because they're demonstrating right now, and there's a lot of bloodshed. And I don't know what Trump was thinking when he decided that he was going to put the embassy in Jerusalem and make that the capital or whatever. But I don't think it was a good move. I don't really think that he was taking things into account, or maybe he was. The only reason that I could see that he might have done this was to bring things to a head, so to speak. Maybe he thought that if he did this, that it would cause enough friction to where the situation could be addressed. I don't know, but basically the Jews, and when I say Jews, it's the tribe of Judah. Most people don't know that the tribe of Judah, Judah, is where the name Jews came from. And there's several tribes. So, just that fact there, that there's several tribes, and then over the years, they have been invaded by other nations, okay, or empires, and they never really were there too long. In other words, basically what I'm saying is they don't really have the right to claim Jerusalem as their capital. And this is the problem, because there's other people that consider that a holy site, okay, and the Palestinians have considered that a holy site because of the Dome of the Rock and all that stuff, and the temples and the history goes. Now, if you really want to get right down to it, they don't have any right on this land. In fact, the time that they were ousted from the land, the time that the Jews weren't there, were hundreds and hundreds of years. And so what happened is the Palestinians were there also, and they were about, if you look at a map, okay, and see how much land the state of Israel has taken away from the Palestinians. In other words, that whole area, okay, was all Palestinians. Now there's just a little tiny dots of Palestinians left in that land due to the systematic carnage and war and genocide, okay, that Israel has committed upon these people over there. So, you know, I can't explain it as good, the history, so I might put Jake's video that he did on this, or you can go to, you know, you can just type in Blackstone Intelligence, and it'll take you to his channel, and you can look at the video called "Oh Jerusalem," and there's a pretty good explanation of it there. I can't understand why people can't see, okay, and why these people that have appointed themselves as quote unquote God's chosen people, which they're not. It's been a love-hate relationship with their God for years and years and years, decades and centuries, okay, of their quote God turning on them because they didn't follow his commands, okay, and so that's why other nations or other empires came in and took over, including the Roman Empire, which just devastated Jerusalem and went in there and just razed it, wreaked havoc upon it, killed everybody in there, surrounded it with encampments. That's what the Great Tribulation was back then. Of course, some people say the Great Tribulation is coming. But anyway, all this stuff seems to be adding up to supposedly fulfill some kind of biblical prophecy, okay? Now, I'm open-minded about things. I look at all prophecy. I look at biblical prophecy. I look at Hopi prophecy. I look at all kinds of religious books and history and the whole thing. But it seems to me, on the face of it, that seeing as though Israel basically is a spurious state. In other words, you know, somebody colluded after World War II, the Rothschilds and the big banking interest, and decided they were going to give this portion of land to Israel. And that was going to become a state. Never mind the fact that all these other indigenous people, the Arabs and Muslims and see, at one time they lived in unity. At one time, before this state was given to Israel, those people all lived together and in a more or less peaceful manner. So what's going on over there right now is a travesty. It's genocide. Somebody needs to call Netanyahu on this. Somebody needs to go in there and kick some ass. Now, this whole thing is just heating up the Middle East more and more and more, and could involve Hezbollah, and could involve Russia and Iran. See, all this stuff is connected. All of this stuff is connected. So It's anybody's guess as to where this is going, but I'll tell you one thing: it's not doing anybody any good, and it's adding fuel to the fire. And if there's some kind of plan by Trump, well, it's pretty far out. And see, that's the thing either, is like, I don't believe in plans if they hurt innocent people. I don't believe in plans no matter what the end game is. Okay. I don't believe in plans that a lot of innocent men, women, and children are going to die in the process. Okay. So you got that situation going on over there. And it seems to me like this situation with Jerusalem being the capital is going to heat everything up. Here's what I hope. I hope it brings it to a head. I hope that some of the other nations of the world look at this and shake their head and go, this is ridiculous. Okay. Now, there's another thing that's going on too right now with the Iran thing. Trump has decided to withdraw from the Iranian agreement. And see, that's another thing too. Israel came right in after he did that and attacked the Syrian people, or went across the Syrian border and attacked some troops and some of the army that's in Syria. Is the same army that is allied with Russia that fought off ISIS. ISIS being a group that was formed by the CIA, which is now almost out of there. Okay. So they, as soon as Trump said he was withdrawing from the Iran deal, that's when Israel went in there and started bombing. Okay. So if you ask me, Israel is the bully. Okay, is a big bully on the block, along with the USA, because the USA is supporting them. Okay. So you got to wonder where this is all going. Now, here's another thing about the Iran deal. just bringing you up to speed here on all this stuff. Another thing about the Iran deal is a lot of the other nations like France and Germany and some of the other nations that were in on the Iran deal. In other words, if you don't know what the Iran deal is, it was something that was put in place by Obama, and he flew a C-130 in there with pallets full of money and paid somebody off. And some say that that money is being laundered or funneled back to nations, okay, leaders of nations like France and Germany and U.S., some people in the U.S., so it could all be a big deep state thing. But see, here's the thing that I'm wondering about. Why? Okay, so we have the USA, okay, and we have all their vassal states that that are in NATO, and they go along usually with the USA on things like invading Syria, like they just did recently, where they sent a bunch of missiles in there as a group, as a coalition. And supposedly they're all on the same page with this. But then when Trump pulled out from the Iran deal, all of a sudden people like John Kerry and Obama and others were traveling around the world, okay, and going to Iran and talking to heads of state in France and doing all this stuff. But what the hell are they doing that for? They're no longer in power. They're no longer in office. So they were trying to supersede or fix, some kind of situation that they had going with the Iran deal. And see, the Iran deal was that Iran agreed to not pursue nuclear interests, just like with North Korea, okay? Just like what's going on with North Korea right now. Iran decided that they weren't going to pursue nuclear interests or the development of nuclear weapons with this deal, okay? Now, where that money went, where all that, what was it, $1 billion or whatever, on pallets, I'm talking about real money stacked up on pallets. Where that went, I have no idea, and I don't think anybody else has any idea. So anyway, getting back to the point here, when Trump withdrew from the Iran deal, all these states, all these vassal states, all these members of the NATO coalition, Germany and France, they got upset. They said, no, you can't do this. This is something that we were all in on. And for Trump representing the U.S. to pull out, shook everything up, okay? And all of a sudden, these people realized that if they were in on a deal where they were going to get money, it might screw it up, okay? So basically, it's a clusterfuck. I mean, what's going on right now? And it seems as though, to me, things are heating up more than they have. See, and that's the thing too, and I've talked about this in other videos. They heat up, it gets to critical mass, then something else happens, and then it doesn't seem like it's heated up so much, and then it gets back to critical mass again. But I'm telling you right now, the people that are being slaughtered over there because of they're protesting against the Jerusalem being the capital, and these are Muslim people. Let's not forget the Muslim people are backed by Hezbollah, which is basically a freedom-fighting army that was formed a long time ago to defend the interests of the Palestinians, and tied closely with Iran, okay, who Israel is attacking right now, okay, because of this. And Israel has done this time and time again, and how they get away with this stuff is beyond me. I mean, they at one time even attacked a U.S. warship. This was years and years ago, and killed a bunch of people and said, oops, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to do that. And they've done just outrageous things in the name of them preserving their homeland, which again, if you watch the first part of this video, really wasn't their homeland. Not any more than anybody else's, okay? And in fact, less than anybody else's, i.e. the Palestinian people. So you could see that this is a big circular thing, and all these Middle Eastern states, Syria, Iran, Iraq, all of these things are connected, okay, in some kind of way. And so a lot of people are saying, that Trump is in bed with the Zionists. And when I talk about Israel and the state of Israel, I'm not really talking about the Jewish people. I'm not saying that I am have anything against the Jewish people or the people that call themselves that, the Israelites or whatever. The rank and file people, the people that live in that country, the people that live in this country, are pretty much controlled, okay, by the governments. So I'm not really saying that I don't like those people, but within that government that rules those people, the Zionist agenda, and the same agenda is here, has infiltrated here in the form of lobbyists, okay, and Jewish lobbyists in here, in Congress, infiltrated into Congress. You got to kind of scratch your head and you got to kind of say to yourself, why is this little tiny piece of land? I don't know if it's even as big as Texas, okay? Why do they have so much power? Okay, why are they able to get away with murder, literally? And nobody call them on it. Nobody calls them on it. And for somebody that is supposed to be this United States of America, somebody that's supposed to be a democracy, why aren't they calling them on it? So again, the tentacles must run pretty deep into our government. Either that or the governments are the same. It's the same agenda, the deep state in America and the deep state in Israel, the Zionist agenda. So that's what's going on here, you know, that's what's going on. It's but what's interesting, what I think is going to be interesting to see is whether or not these vassal states of in the EU, like Germany, because Merkel's already flipping out. She's already flipping out and saying that no, we're not going to go along with this, and Trump is basically saying that she's going to have nothing to do with Trump anymore, or the U.S. if they follow through on this agenda. Now, here's another thing that popped up during all this. Remember North Korea? North Korea was supposedly pursuing weapons of nuclear capability, and then all of a sudden, behind the scenes, there was some kind of negotiations with the Trump administration, supposedly. And then you see negotiations, or you see South Korea, the head of South Korea, going over and visiting and making friends with the head of North Korea, okay, which they've been enemies for years and years and years. And they even took down a bunch of loudspeakers that they had on each border, where they day and night they transmitted propaganda through these speakers, and they even took those down, and it looked like everything was hunky-dory. And Kim Jong-un and I forget the name of the leader of South Korea got together and were going to be buddies, and everything was going to be all right. And then the big summit was coming up with Trump, or is coming up with Trump, supposedly to take place in oh boy, I can't remember where it was supposed to take place, but it was supposed to take place in June, okay, probably around June 12th, I think. And everything seemed on track with North Korea, and hey, everything's settled there. And Kim Jong-un was backing off on the nuclear thing, saying that he was going to quit doing that. And supposedly everything was straightened out in advance of the summit. Now the New York Times and the Post and some of these other CNN are coming out and saying that the leader of North Korea, Kim, is going to cancel out on the summit, and he's getting upset about something, and so everything that seemed on track with that is all of a sudden, according to the mainstream media, now you don't know if they're lying, but according to the mainstream media, is off track now. Okay. So you got to wonder, if Kim Jong-un was scared, maybe scared off. Okay, this is a possibility that maybe he was scared off because of what went down with Trump backing out of the Iranian deal, okay, and posturing for war, okay. So you got these people posturing for war again, just like with Libya and Iraq and Syria and the rest of the Middle Eastern countries. So you got to wonder if he is real and he isn't controlled by the deep state, this Kim Jong-un. If he backed off because he's afraid that this is going to happen to him, that his country's going to be invaded and they're going to take him out. Okay. So the whole thing right now is in such a state of chaos, okay, and confusion. What else is new, you know? What else is new? But again, it seems to be all connected. It seems to be that everything that's going down right now is connected or is leading to something. Now, what could that be? What could that be? What could this be leading to? Well, a lot of people think World War III. A lot of people think perpetuation of World War III. Now, the wild card is always and always will be Russia. Okay. So there's been much prophecy. Okay, there's been a lot of prophecy about Russia would at some point, okay, have enough, because they are trying to remain neutral. But then again, maybe maybe this is the plan by Russia, is just to watch all these people fight each other, because Russia has been very cool-headed, you know, because you've had all these incidents, okay, where, let's say during the Syrian debacle, one of their planes got shot down by Turkey, which was a NATO member. And they didn't do anything. They didn't retaliate. And then when Trump recently fired several cruise missiles in alliance with these other France and Germany and all these other people, you got to wonder what's going on, you know. I see I'm getting a few people on the chat. Oh, yeah, I sent out a book to somebody and they got that, and I'm glad you got it. I was wondering about that. So I'm glad that you received that. Okay. Where was I now? Does it make any difference where I was? But anyway, you got to wonder what's going on here with Russia, okay, and what they're thinking right now. That's where I was, because they are the wild card here. They are the ones that are seemingly the only ones with a cool head. Putin, great leader, fantastic leader of his country, very intelligent, very centered. He is a judo master, and he is a thinker, okay, and he does have some intellect. But biblical prophecy seems to indicate that at some point Russia might just have had enough. And because they are intimately involved in the Middle East, okay, they do have bases in Syria. And they have seen the hegemonic view of the USA and how they go around invading other countries and replacing the leaders with puppets and destabilizing nations and allowing terrorism to infiltrate, usually created by the USA and the CIA. So Putin's been watching all this all along and taking note, okay, of what's going on. And he has always been, and I think always will be, for the people of Russia and for peace, okay, in that country, and has always been for not wanting the New World Order to get its grips, or the deep state, or whatever conglomeration of people, Zionists. He has always kept an eye on that and been very protective of his country. And he is, like I said before, deeply involved in the Middle East. He has interests there. He has bases there. Now, see, he only has two or three bases in the world, okay? One's in Crimea, and the other is in Syria. I think there might be one in, I can't remember where the other one is, but he's only got two or three bases in the world, but yet the United States, the West, has probably hundreds, okay? So he's got to be looking on as far as like encroachment goes, and wondering when and how, okay, the West is going to try to encroach on the borders of Russia, or infiltrate behind the scenes through some NGO or some organization to destabilize Russia. So we're at the point right now where since Iran, okay, has just been bombed by Israel, or parts of the army within the borders of Syria, where he, for the most part, has gotten rid of, over the last couple of years, has attacked ISIS in alliance with Iran and the Iranian fighters, and even Hezbollah. And in alliance with the Syrian army, has basically defeated ISIS and cleaned them out of Syria. When he sees what's happening right now with Israel, okay, and you know he doesn't take kindly, or doesn't look at the situation and with the PLO and the Palestinians and what Israel's doing to them. So he's sitting on the sidelines right now, and basically he has not done anything. The West has had enough respect to probably call him behind the scenes, and when they do these little phony attacks on Syria, and when Israel, now does Israel make a phone call to Russia when they go in across the borders and attack Iran? And they're fixing, basically what Israel wants to do is they want to go to war with Iran. They want to go to war with Iran. And you could see how this thing is a powder keg. It's a powder keg. Because the wild card is Russia. And it remains to be seen what Russia's going to do. Okay. Let's not forget that Russia has other interests too in Crimea, which is now a part of their state or their nation. Okay. That's a whole nother story, which I might touch on another video. But just briefly, Crimea was overthrown. Not Crimea. Ukraine was overthrown. Kiev was destabilized. And Ukraine and Kiev always thought that Crimea was theirs. But it couldn't be because Putin had a Black Sea naval base there. And the people voted, okay, democratically voted to leave Ukraine and go back with Russia. Because see, all that Ukrainian territory at one time used to belong to Russia or the USSR, okay, before it was destabilized and became Russia. So Putin has other interests that are being challenged, because they keep saying all the time, they keep saying, oh, Putin annexed Crimea, and Putin basically took over Crimea when he didn't. Like I said before, it was a democratic thing where they voted, the people voted. So he's got other interests going at the same time that he has to keep an eye on. Besides the Middle East thing, he's got these other interests. Because in the south, or the southeast of Crimea, I mean the southeast of Ukraine, which was destabilized and taken over by Nazis, backed by the CIA, incidentally. He's got to keep an eye on that ball game too, because they keep threatening to invade the southeast or the Donbass region, where the freedom fighters are and where a lot of the Russian people live, and where Putin still sends in humanitarian convoys. I don't know, I think he's up to 100 now that he's sent in. So anyway, he's got that thing to look at and to keep an eye on. And he seems to be doing real well with being able to juggle all this stuff, okay, and still keep a cool head, In fact, what he just did, another thing that was in the news recently was he just built a bridge, okay, from Russia into Crimea. That took a while to build, and that started being built right after the Crimean people voted to go back with Russia. So now he was one of the first ones to drive a truck across. Classic Putin. So that's being connected stronger. There's a stronger connection there, and that's being solidified. Crimea and Russia, and there's no way that they're going to take back Crimea. So he's looking at all these things, okay? And my point is that he's not only looking at what's going on in Syria and in with Israel, and that whole situation heating up again. But he's also got to keep an eye on the Crimean situation and the Ukraine situation in the southeast of Ukraine, which is where his people are, where a lot of Russian-speaking people are. So you wonder how far this can go, or what's going to come up next, okay, and the chessboard of geopolitical bullshit, okay? But if he does decide to do something, like biblical prophecy says. And am I a Bible thumper? No, but I look at biblical prophecy just like I look at all kinds of prophecy. Hopi prophecy about emergence. And it all seems to be pointing to the same situation. Now, will I see it in my lifetime? Who knows? But it's always good to keep an eye on things. It's always good to be aware, okay, of what's going on. I know I'm covering a lot of ground in this video because I don't do too many videos. I don't do as much as some of the other people. But there are people out there like Roy Potter and Jake Marfonios and with Blackstone Intelligence and myself. Now, I don't have a huge following, but I come out every once in a while and say my piece. Why? Because I can, I guess. I don't know. So that's where we're sitting here today, looking at this whole big picture, okay, of the Middle East and Russia and things seemingly heating up. So I just thought I'd come out and do this live stream today and try to keep people abreast of what's going on, maybe review some things. I might start doing, I'm not getting enough people on the chat here to do a live stream. I might start doing it at a different time. I might start coming on later in the evening. Let's see what happens. But I always try to speak truth, and I always try to inform and hope that some people will wake up, okay, and see what's going on and see how this whole mess is controlled and how it could affect all of our lives. Because we definitely do not want Russia shooting off an EMP over the United States and rendering it useless. Okay. Something to consider. Something that's been talked about before. Because if it gets to that point, okay, where Russia feels so threatened, okay, they don't want to destroy the world. Okay? They don't want to, I don't think they want to use nuclear weapons and create a nuclear winter around the planet. So what are their options in that regard? Well, it's a known fact that they do have advanced technology in the area of electronics, okay? And they do have the capability to black out radar, okay? And they do have the capability to, they've already done it. They've already done it in the Black Sea when the Donald Cook destroyer from the U.S. was over there cruising around, getting too close to things over there. And they, I think they flew an Su-34 directly over the ship and rendered it basically dead in the water. All the electronics for the missiles on that ship and even for propelling the ship, just all of a sudden the ship went dead in the water. So do they have the capability to, and that was an EMP of sorts, okay? Now, whether it destroyed all the electronic equipment on there like an EMP does, it must not have, but they must have had the ability to flip a little switch and render that incapable of doing anything. So yes, they do have advanced electronics, and yes, they probably could They have advanced avionics, they have advanced aviation, they have advanced missile systems. So you would hope, okay, that they don't use them. They don't use nuclear weapons, and if they do decide to use a nuclear weapon, well, it will be, I mean, a weapon, not a nuclear weapon. If they decide to use a weapon, it will be probably an electromagnetic pulse type deal, which wouldn't kill everybody in America, but it sure as hell would put everybody in a world of hurt, okay? Because what you would see there is the whole United States all of a sudden being without an electrical grid. And that would basically put us back to the 1800s and living off the land again. And how many people are prepared to do that? Well, not a whole lot, okay? Not a whole lot. So let's hope that, I don't know, let's hope that somehow that we can see some type of resolution. And whether that comes from a higher spiritual source or whatever source is in opposition to the, let's say, the deep state and the New World Order people, remains to be seen. Anyway, I'm seeing that I'm coming up on 46 minutes here. I want to keep this video probably around 45 minutes, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave now, and if you want to go to my website, you can to check out some of my books and videos. I have a website called rogerthunderhands.com, and that'll be in the show notes, a link to that. And I also am head of the Campfire Council, which is a group that is a kindred group that talks about these kind of things and prepares for eventualities, and it has fun too. I kind of liken it to Geronimo's band, warriors on the move, and with a purpose. So anyway, I think I covered everything as far as, and you can contact me on the website there, rogerthunderhands.com. And if you wish to support or donate to my efforts, there's links on there for Patreon and PayPal. All right, I'll leave it there today. Until I see you again, I'm out of here. Adios.